Welcome to this edition of the Capital Brief. I'm Seth Berenzweig from Berenzweig Leonard here in our beautiful BL Media studio in downtown Tysons, Virginia, here with our friend and colleague, John Tamny from RealClear Markets. How you doing, John?
I'm great. Good to be here.
Good to see you. Last time you were coming in a torrential rainstorm, so now it's windy, so I guess you came in your...
Gets better all the time.
Yeah, you came in your sailboat rather than your kayak.
That's right.
Well, today we're going to talk about a high-level businessman, high-level capitalist, someone who, for some reason, tends to be very controversial, very polarizing. It really kind of reminds me of the phrase, you love him or you hate him. None other than Elon Musk. And you have written an interesting article within the last few days going head-on to the issue of whether that divisiveness and the attack by some of calling him a crony capitalist is justified. Why do you think that Elon Musk, someone who's very relevant to the modern economy, is so polarizing, and why is he being attacked by some as a crony capitalist?
I think he's being attacked because he was the most high profile of countless companies trying to make electric cars a modern, what we all do, what we all use. And so they say they're going after Elon Musk. Well, guess what? Tesla gets $7,500 per car, a tax deduction of $7,500 per car sold,
right,
for those who buy it.
Federal tax credit.
Yeah, federal tax credit. And so they're leaving out there, and so Musk is the face of this, but in fact everyone gets this credit, and let's add that the credit runs out after the sale of 300,000 cars, and so it never was terribly relevant to Tesla, certainly not relevant now, but since he's the face of electric cars, it strikes me that he's being tarred with something that everyone got and that he had nothing to do with instituting in the first place.
It was an EV credit. It was not a Elon Musk or Tesla credit, right?
I mean, that's so crucial that you articulated in a few words, what it took me a while to articulate. Yes, this was something that Congress wanted. It wanted to encourage, it's not the first time that Congress was trying to encourage a different way of driving. Love it or hate it is to miss the point.
And a certain way of helping the issues with regard to global warming and so forth.
The view among some in Congress is that's a threat. It's a debate. It's something we've discussed here, although not in detail. And so it strikes me, so that they came to this not for Elon Musk. He didn't prowl the corridors of power and get this credit to build his company. This was something and is something that exists for every electric vehicle maker.
Right. So, and obviously he has forged the way down a path that now Ford, for example, is very aggressively trying to catch up. Who knows whether they will catch up, but this is a credit that is not person-specific, it's not company-specific, it's supposed to be eco-friendly, and so there are some good reasons behind it, although, as you've also correctly pointed out, it's a capped benefit. I've noticed on and off social media, particularly over the last couple of years, vilification of high-level capitalists, high-level CEOs. I've noticed it in and out of Congress. And it's not just Elizabeth Warren that says literally Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, et cetera, quote, "I'm coming after you." She's literally said that, and in sum and substance has made it clear that she's going after that demographic, despite the fact that there's huge capital creation and huge technological advances that forward and promote many issues that those on the left are in favor of, and on the right too, in terms of environmental thoughtfulness and ecology and so forth. Why do you think that it is in vogue for people to go after hugely successful CEOs? Do you think it's in vogue? And if so, why do you think that that's been a trend over the last couple of years?
It's certainly in vogue. What did Ludwig von Mises say? That basically capitalistic profits set the stage for socialistic demagoguery. That's a slight change of the words, but that's what he's essentially said. Without Elon Musk, without Jeff Bezos, without these brilliant capitalists, people like AOC and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders would have no voice.
Right.
Do you think these populists exist or these socialists exist in Bangladesh? No. You must have the rich first to demagogue. And so these people are a consequence of the wealth they hate. Without them, they would have no political purpose. And so I just think they're an inevitable result. And I've argued before, as much as I despise the message of Sanders and Warren and AOC, I view them, this may surprise you, maybe not, as a bullish signal. If I were leading the U.S., because we'd be much freer if I could be the dictator for a day, there would be 30 AOCs and 30 Warrens, precisely because there'd be so much prosperity happening as people were freed up that there would...
more people for them to attack.
More people for them to attack.
Right.
These people are a consequence of immense wealth creation.
Well, those who hate wealth are those that often pursue wealth. There was one moment in the presidential debates a couple of years ago where it was pointed out that Bernie Sanders owns several houses, and he actually got pretty defensive and said, well, there's nothing wrong with owning several houses. Well, that happens to be true. When AOC wears a jacket to a Met Gala, or wherever the gala was located, I believe it was at the Met, that said tax the rich. That was at an event where each ticket was thousands and thousands of dollars. So she was actually in the midst of people who she was attacking with the meme on her jacket. One of the things that's also been particularly destructive historically in terms of that kind of cynicism coming from within Capitol Hill is that it's really also had a direct impact on the presidential elections. I think of Mitt Romney. I remember, and frankly, Barack Obama was really quite masterful, and his team was very adept at painting Mitt Romney as a detached, intellectual, billionaire debutante elitist, when in fact he was a person who created a lot of wealth, created a lot of jobs, was very smart, and had really dedicated a significant part of his life to public service. But yet it got to be so farcical that at one point when he was at a black tie affair, he kind of cracked a joke on himself and went up to the microphone and said, it's so nice to finally be able to wear something that I comfortably hang around the house in, when he was wearing a tuxedo. And so that was a dialogue, that was a mantra that I think really had some kind of an impact on the election when Romney was running. But it's interesting to note that there is a significant degree of cynicism today, and I don't think that anybody ever got rich by complaining. I don't think anybody ever became successful or built a great organization by being cynical. The only way to be able to create a business organization, to create wealth, to create new capital, to create great paying jobs is by being optimistic, by frankly taking the opposite approach. There were times when we were forming this firm, and I'm using the we, I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about the partners that were teeing this up, where a new business starts on lean times. If you're not an optimist, and if you're not focused and really looking for the best in human nature and the best in opportunities in our capitalist system, then it's going to be difficult to find that. So maybe there's some kind of resentment that's embedded in this kind of a system. What other hallmarks do you see people unjustifiably labeling the crony capitalist critique on people like Musk? So, for example, I've heard Musk being criticized, or people within that genre being criticized, for example, for SpaceX. SpaceX is a government contractor. They get a lot of money from the feds. And some of the criticism that's been leveled at Musk, now that we're talking about the crony capitalist issue, is saying, well, the feds are paying him vast amounts of money. Well, guess what? He and SpaceX have been able to forge a new alliance and a new public-private partnership that is making great headway, is running science, running experiments in outer space, and is able to do things because of that drive in a manner that is incredibly cost-effective. Otherwise, it would be like, having a reusable ship the opposite of that would be the logic of having a Boeing 787 fly once and then just discarding it. What have you seen any other instances with respect to any other benefits or any other CEO where someone has unjustifiably leveled criticism against someone in terms of the crony capitalism label?
Well, I think one obvious one would be Donald Trump. I remember, and look, I know there's varying views on Donald Trump, but I remember when he was still just running for president.
Right.
Many libertarians, and that's kind of my crowd, said he's a crony capitalist. Look at the permitting process in New York. Look at how you have to deal with the city to get a building built.
Okay.
And my response at the time was, Trump didn't create this. He dealt with the system that's in place. You show me a city in the United States that doesn't have enormous barriers that you have to get around in order to build a building. Trump didn't invent this. He just succeeded in dealing with it. And you look at it, you've talked about Elizabeth Warren and these others attacking billionaires. Can you blame them for spending time in Washington? Can we go back to Bill Gates and what happened to him? Microsoft didn't have any office in D.C. Bill Gates was off in Seattle doing software and everything. It never occurred to him to have an office in D.C.
Right.
Only for him to learn the error of his ways from Republicans and, well, Democrats most notably. Oh, wait a second. You don't make all that money without currying favor with us. And so Washington attacks the great wealth creators. If they don't kowtow, they're called before Washington. And then we wonder why businessmen spend some time here to maybe engage in partnerships that I don't like, maybe pursue subsidies. Probably a better way to go about it. Jeff Bezos buys the Washington Post and is subsequently able to purchase Whole Foods with little to no antitrust scrutiny. Look, thumbs up for me. Mm-hmm. But we know why he purchased the Post. It wasn't an economic purchase. It was buying protection from Washington, D.C. Yeah. Is he a crony? No, I think he's a smart businessman. Yeah. If you don't have protection, they're going to come and try to break you up.
Yeah, so he had a new beachhead in the Capitol. That's a great point. I also like the point that you raise about you were referring to the antitrust litigation against Microsoft. Mm-hmm. The antitrust litigation was a multi-year farce. The United States Department of Justice prosecuted antitrust litigation against Microsoft. And ultimately, once the case went up on appeal, the case was settled. And it was a resolution that had benefits for both sides. So I think there's a genuine debate as to whether the government really wisely invested its resources in going after Microsoft to begin with. But in terms of kind of bringing this conversation in for a conclusion, what do you think? Is there anything that business leaders can do today to provide clearer messaging? And this is exactly what I mean. People like Bezos and Musk and others tend to be pretty busy, and they don't really have a lot of time to peel off and do a lot of heavy PR. And frankly, I would argue that someone like Bill Gates, who I know is pretty darn controversial these days, actually runs a charitable foundation that helps poor countries get vaccinated. So although he's done some very controversial things, he's also done a number of very helpful things as well. These are individuals that, male and female executives alike, of course. Admittedly, they don't have a lot of free time in their schedule to spend for messaging. But I think that, do you think that powerful executives have a bigger responsibility of providing clearer messaging of what they're doing so that there is a fair debate and a transparent conversation about the real, genuine, and critical contributions that these capitalists, that these business leaders are providing to the American economy?
I don't think they should. In a way, I wish they would. I wish that Mitt Romney had said to Barack Obama on the debate stage, let's talk about my wealth. I got here because I have a history of buying with my partners companies that are on their deathbed and reviving them. What's the source of your wealth? Kind of make it simple like that.
Right.
And same thing for Jeff Bezos to talk about what his achievements have meant for the common man. We quite literally have the world's plenty at the click of a mouse at prices that fall. And you think about Elon Musk more broadly, he's one of many. Where are all the other centibillionaires who had the same subsidy thrown at them as thrown at Tesla? Looking at it more broadly, since it runs out and markets anticipate the future, please, those who criticize him, explain what his wealth has to do with a subsidy that's plainly no longer relevant. And if you think the subsidy is going to be forever, let's talk about that, because GM, Ford, Volvo, they're all talking about an all-electric future. Why aren't their share prices anywhere close to what Tesla's are? And I think this is important because Musk, in talking about this, could say the valuation on Tesla has nothing to do with a subsidy that a bunch of ankle biters have this major focus on.
Right.
It has everything to do with the fact that the future I'm promising shareholders for now is something so unimaginably grand that politicians wouldn't even know how to subsidize it, even if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. This valuation has nothing to do with cars any more than Amazon's valuation had to do with books.
Right.
It was about what can be achieved with very unique technology and a very unique vision. And I wish he would defend this every which way, but I don't blame him for not. He's got a business to run.
Sure. In conclusion, I wish that those in Congress would, I'm not going to be naive enough to say that I wish that they would speak more objectively, because the chance of that is somewhere between slim and none, and Slim already left town on that. But I would like to see, and I cannot remember the last time that the United States Congress had a meaningful hearing, a televised meaningful hearing, where they had executives at the table providing some kind of a collaborative conversation about how we can create more capital, how we can create more wealth, how we can create more jobs, and have a positive and constructive conversation. Every time I see CEOs lined up, it looks like a firing squad. You look at the CEOs of big tech, for example, who I know happen to be pretty unpopular right now, and I'm not going to try to get into that debate. But when's the last time you saw no grandstanding or political drama, but instead trying to create a conversation around how can we create more jobs by leaning forward into more capital creation, into leveraging more into high tech, and teaming in a public-private partnership so that we can at least have more thought creation as opposed to reputational destruction. So more conversation for another day. John, great seeing you again.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you again soon.